In fact, you were at the IDA Administrative Director for how many years, David?
20.
20 years. As you look back on that 20-year time cycle, which was the longest of anybody, and it was a tremendous growth spurt as well, were there some kind of areas which you felt like you just didn't get accomplished, some disappointments?
Well, one of the Dunkirk disappointments was Roblin Steel. Roblin Industries owned Roblin Steel. Dan Roblin was a charismatic businessman who had put together a mini conglomerate and had been very successful. They had to expand their steel, which is a different type of steel fabrication than Altec was. They had to put together about a $20 million deal in Dunkirk if they were going to keep Dunkirk open. So he came to me and said, listen, I'm chairman of the Erie County IDA, so I know all about IDAs. And he says, I know you can't put together $20 million, but I'm going to give you the challenge to do it. In 1 week, we had commitments for everything but $1 million. We had a $19 million package put together for Roblin Steel. I was very excited. So I called him up and told him that we had put this package together, and he says, I know all about it. So I don't know how you know all about it. He said, I know all about it. He says, and I want you in my office on Monday morning at 9 o'clock, and we'll talk about it. I said, well, I was going away on vacation with my wife that day. Not anymore. He says, you're going to be in my office at 9 o'clock Monday morning. I said, we'll start our vacation in Buffalo. So we drove up, and I walked in. I thought I was walking in as a hero, but I didn't understand his tone, if you will. He didn't have a good tone. And I said, I just wanted to report to you that we've got 19 of the $20 million at a fixed rate, single rate fixed number for the mill in Dunkirk, and you're going to be able to, he says, fine, we're not taking any of it. I said, what's the problem? And he says, because you involved Mike Curley, my Democratic opponent here in Erie County. And he's walking around telling everybody at the state that he's just got Dan Roblin to put together a deal with him. And he says, I wouldn't do business with him. So he says, I've gone to my insurance company and I've raised the money through my insurance company. I said, that's fine. However you want to do it. But the offer was there. Well, this was going into when he got a Prime Plus loan out of the insurance company, and interest rates went to 24% on Prime, and it bankrupted the Dunkirk mill. That was a disappointment. Yeah. Another disappointment was containerboard. I thought it was going to be fabulous for Chautauqua County, and we started off in Dunkirk. We were going to be in the Dunkirk Industrial Park, and I invited the containerboard people in to meet the local politicians who should have been thrilled to have them there. Well, we weren't even through hors d'oeuvres and cocktails at the restaurant we were at in Dunkirk when certain of the politicians stood up and started throwing their index finger at the containerboard people and telling them what they were going to do and how they were going to do it and when they were going to do it and what they were not going to do. And within 5 minutes, the containerboard people just got up and left. And we walked out the door, and I said, do I get a second chance if we relocate out of Dunkirk? And they said, yeah, let's look for another site in northern Chautauqua County. So we looked in Brockton, and we looked in Silver Creek and Forestville, and we settled on a perfect site in Westfield. And a group of the same politicians joined up with some local Westfield people and created an opposition group down there to stop the plant. And this was recycling cardboard, recycling paper. And they created a hostile environment for containerboard, who finally gave up and said, you guys don't want us. And they left town. And they located and expanded 2 or 3 times their facility up near Syracuse, New York, and have been very successful and provided many, many jobs, and would have been great for Chautauqua County. Those are 2 examples.
That was such an effort by you, by many, Bob Dormer, to keep him in what seemed like a great minority business opportunity.
Right.
What happened?
Well, you know, Dr. Ben is, in his own way, he's a very charismatic guy. And we were, again, our jobs, but whether it's the JDA with Bob Dormer or David Dawson with the IDA, and my board, was to provide some resource to Ben to put together his team. In this case, it was to buy the former assets of the Watson Manufacturing Company, which was another art metal type company, and then they made metal office furniture. And the concept from his business plan was that there were a number of opportunities, especially with governmental agencies, because of the minority-owned statutes that exist to this day in the United States as far as buying certain amounts of products from either minority-owned or woman-owned businesses. And Ben convinced all of us that he had the business knowledge to make that happen. Because of that reality that governmental agencies had to deal with minority-owned businesses and buy a certain amount of their product from those. So that was the fundamental business concept. But as we have talked before, I don't run his business. Bob Dormer doesn't run his business. Ben had to run his business, and the team he put together had to run his business. And in his defense, most startups fail. A great number of percentage of startups fail, don't make it. He was one of them. He certainly put his heart and soul into it, and he tried his darndest, and he made friends and he made bitter enemies along the way because of how he did business, with whom he did business. But this is the blocking and the tackling that we talk about when it comes down to what happens when a business gets up and running. Whether it's Altec, Roblin Industries, and the decision that somebody as wise and charismatic as Dan Roblin was made the wrong decision. And Ben made wrong decisions, and his business didn't work. But it's not because he didn't try, and it's not because it was a concept that shouldn't have been supported. It was a concept that made sense. The business plan made sense. It just didn't get executed right. And I'm in the business today of executing my business day in and day out. And when Wednesday's over and we meet on Thursday, we say what worked on Wednesday and what didn't work on Wednesday. Where did we succeed on Wednesday, and what do we have to do to improve? And where are we going to be a week from now and a month from now? How are we going to make this thing better? Because you got to vision a month from now and a year from now. And if you're so caught up in just trying to survive this week's payroll, or you're trying to survive quality problems that you can't get fixed, that are going to just destroy your cash flow, then ultimately that business won't succeed. And that's what happened to Ben. That's what I believe happened to Ben. He should speak for himself, as if Dan Roblin could, he'd speak for himself.